Unique New York. Unique New York. Peanut butter, peanut butter, peanut butter, peanut butter, peanut butter, peanut butter.
Many mumbling mice.
Many mumbling mice. Or the worst was the vocal warm-ups. You ever sing in the chorus?
Yeah.
Mommy, 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 mommy,
Yeah.
mommy,
Yeah.
mommy,
Climb.
mommy, mommy, mommy.
Yeah.
That wasn't the word. It was actually cool, but you needed privacy for it.
Oh, yes. But you had to do it all together in a big room, so you didn't get
Yeah.
privacy.
But yeah, and you didn't want, you didn't want your secret crush walking in on you doing that.
Or, see, the alternative to fix that is just be a nerd like me and never have a secret crush.
See, that's just, yeah, you're right.
I had exactly one crush, and it was not a secret at all, and she's my wife now, so.
Oh, I mean, I hope you don't take too much offense to this, but it seems very Utah,
I don't take any offense. I'm the epitome of that situation, yeah.
Just living it, just owning it. I love it.
It is a way to live, absolutely.
Nice. Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I had several, but not scores.
Not scores of crushes.
I had several, but not scores.
You had to focus on bagpipes sometimes.
Over the years, yeah, Jim. But that's also very New York, We're just, you got to embrace it.
We are products of our environment, are we not?
Speaking of interesting environments to do things, Jim.
Yeah.
How do you like that segue?
That's a good segue.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a real good segue right there.
Yeah.
We could roll around on that.
Or we could roll off a cliff on that segue, like the inventor of the segue. Oops.
Oh, what a sad story.
We should cut this. Well, let's not make light. Let's not make light of a guy's death.
Oh, fair enough.
We're cutting this.
Okay, we'll cut this. If you're going to go way off the rails when talking in a conversation, to make segues the topic of the off-rails portion of that conversation is a really good idea because it's still technically, it's still like a segue.
Yeah.
So you're still safe.
I'm still safe.
But the original direction of this segue was interesting environments in which to do things.
Yeah. I'm thinking the more this conversation continues like this, the more I'm thinking it's probably good that this is our last recording session for a while. I think we need a break.
We need a little break. You're going to be on your trip and you're going to be like the stewardess will hand you some food, or the waiter's going to come over and ask you what you would like. And okay, it's all food metaphors for me all of a sudden, but everything that happens to you is going to be like, how could I turn this into a topic? How can I transition this into, you got to get out of that mode.
Yes, exactly. Well,
interesting environments though.
Yeah. And the listener won't experience a break, but this is our final recording session before the big Scotland trip.
We'll take the break, but the rest of you don't get to take a break.
Exactly. You can take a break. They can take a break anytime they want.
Right. That's important to remember. If we get to be way too much for you, don't worry. You don't have to listen.
So anyway, the segue that we were trying to segue before, like the segue went off the rails, was piping in interesting environments. And Jim, you were asking me how Cruise Journey North went.
Yeah.
And just kind of maybe a little bit of a recap. Could be fun.
I would love to hear about it. I like the idea of Alaska. Seems like a beautiful place, but I've never been myself.
Yeah.
When I hear people talk about cruises, my natural first assumption is they mean like a hot weather cruise. So the Alaskan cruise is kind of a unique thing amongst unique things anyway.
Yes.
So yeah, I want to hear all about this.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, so as we know, I think we talked about it in an earlier episode when Jack was on, but Jack and I, the first Kansas City winter storm event after the life intermission, sometimes known as the pandemic.
Oh, right. I was like, midlife crisis, or what is it that we're okay?
We ended up chatting about how he was about to do a cruise with Piping Hot Summer Drummer, but it got canceled due to the pandemic. And then we were chatting about the Dojo cruise, which our final cruise before the pandemic was basically, it was during the initial scare of it all, and it got all screwed up. We were chatting about it. Anyway, the idea emerged from that conversation, like, hey, what if we collabed? What if we put our minds together to do kind of like a partner cruise, sort of Piping Hot Summer Drummer mixed with Dojo, one big happy event? That was the big idea. And so we did that. It was great. We partnered with a travel agent that's tangentially involved in the piping world. So,
how convenient.
So he helped us get everybody going. And, because cruise reservations are a little bit tricky, you know?
Mm.
So, do you want the balcony? What time do you want to eat? Do you want to eat? Do you want the drink package? Do you want the whatever? But the travel agents really kind of help out with that. By the way, I love that about cruises is you
Mm.
can do it, you can do it the way you want to do it. So you can do it on the cheap. I mean, it's still a little expensive, but if you divide the experience you get by the 7 days, it ends up being like a pretty affordable way to have a nice vacation if you want to do it on the cheap, or you can go all the way to the mega balcony, with fresh fruit delivered to your room every morning and everywhere in between. And then meanwhile, we can hold our bagpiping programming on the ship. And so whatever experience the person has set up for themselves, they can still take part in the piping. I like cruises for that. And Andrew Fowler and his team at Expedia Cruises Canada, I'm not quite exactly sure what they're called, but off the top of my head. But yeah, they set us all up and it was awesome.
Well,
Pretty cool.
I'm looking through photos right now as we speak. It looks awesome. One of the first, maybe it speaks to my anxious personality, but one of the first things I'm wondering is everywhere that I see instruments out on the ship, was that a problem? It looks
Yeah.
like a lot of times you're in maybe like some of the food areas, which makes sense because there are tables you can use to sit around tables with chanters and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Did you get pipes out on the ship, or was it all chanters and then pipes on land when you dock?
So a great question. Over the years, we've done different things, by the way. Some ships have nice conference rooms that you can book to do piping classes. And this ship actually did. I don't know. There's not that many pictures of us working in the conference room. We did a little bit. But then a lot of times what we'll do is end up in a restaurant or something during the day that's not being used until nighttime. And because we're playing pipes and moving around and wanting to be flexible and making noise and stuff, it ends up being usually a pretty good arrangement. Over the years, we've done some pubs and some restaurants and they're not being used and they end up being really cool venues. But the bottom line, what we do is we work with the ship to set us up with cool spaces to do stuff in. One of the things that we did on this Alaska cruise is we had an evening sort of almost Kaylee every night. It was like a Kaylee class where we were basically just having fun. We spent a lot of time just listening to each individual piper and helping them with their pipes and just kind of hanging out during those sessions. And yeah, it's sort of a very laid back bagpipe school experience.
Just as you say, it's a laid back pipe school. I scroll past a photo of you literally playing your pipes as you lean back against a half wall behind you. It looks pretty casual, pretty laid back, you could say.
Yep, exactly. Yep. That's pretty cool, right?
But when were these restaurants full of food? Because that's the next thing I think, like speaking of picking your package, like how much of a good time are people having outside of bagpiping? If I get up on a typical day on this cruise, is my whole day booked up with bagpiping activities? Is it like a half and half kind of thing? Piping in the morning, partying in the afternoon? How does that shake out?
Yeah, I mean, it's not half and half probably, but that's sort of the vibe we're going for. So when you do a cruise, you usually spend a little bit of time cruising around. Okay.
Which is part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a good time to do some piping classes. And then when we're in port going and seeing things, and of course, Alaska is a place everybody wanted to see, then we would have limited to no piping programming during that time. So people could get off the ship and not miss any piping as they go and explore the ports. So that's the basic idea. And then it usually ends up being, you kind of have to fudge it a little bit and this, that. So in a couple of cases, we would have a piping class, like, right as people are kind of getting back on the boat from their port experience or vice versa or something like that. You kind of have to work with the schedule. That's the trickiest part for us, is getting the schedule to work. But also we do the programming on these cruises such that if you had to miss one of the classes, it's not like you'd be left in the dust. You're just kind of learning tunes, talking piping, working with people's pipes, doing some master classes, or Rab Matheson is talking about reeds or talking about composition, or Jack Lee is doing some P-Brock with people. But, if you had to miss a lesson because you were still in port doing some awesome excursion, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, that's what we're going for anyway.
Gotcha.
We even had a couple instances where one of the instructors had like a dinner reservation. Like I remember one night, my wife and I had a dinner reservation. So in that case, Jack and Rab were just teaching at that time, and I caught up a little bit later. And yeah, it's all very flexible. And you're going to play a lot of bagpipes, hang out with a lot of cool pipers, learn a lot of great stuff, but it's not like a sit down piping college, if that makes any sense.
You really feel like it was wise to leave Jack and Rab unsupervised to run the group, Andrew?
It turned out to be very unwise that, they're just going crazy when I got back. No, I'm just kidding. They were great. They're actually, everyone was probably glad to have some time off from me anyway.
Speaking of getting a break, right?
Yeah.
I do see a few photos where you all got together playing on land a little bit. And I know you were going to meet one local pipe band up there too.
Yeah, we ended up meeting two. Yeah. So Alaska is different than the Caribbean.
In a couple of ways.
In a couple of ways. But one of the ways it's different is in Alaska, there's lots of bagpipers in these ports. So, and of course, Jack Lee knows them. Jack knows everybody, especially in that part of the world. So he basically called them up and invited them out. And we ended up having some awesome jam sessions on land with other pipers.
Yeah, it looks like there was even some canopy set up so you didn't get wet, though not surprisingly, a little cold up there.
Yeah, a little, but not too bad. It was rainy though. That first day we met with the band is very rainy, and we sort of asked forgiveness rather than permission. And we just got the pipes under this big tent that they use to load and offload people from the boat. And we just went under there and started playing, and we didn't actually end up getting in any trouble. Everyone loved it. We were a little nervous, but
have you felt this way, Andrew? I've always felt kind of like playing under a low roof like that, like that canopy there. I kind of like it because I can hear my drones in a way that I usually don't get to hear them. I think it's kind of cool.
The sound kind of comes back at you.
Yeah.
And can reflect back instead of just disappearing off into space.
But did that end up being a challenge? The weather, I mean, I'd imagine you could have similar challenges on a Caribbean cruise as well. But if on the ship, I can see that people aren't wearing nearly as much winter gear as they're playing. Of course, they're inside in these situations.
Yeah.
So going in and out, did it take kind of a long time to get ready, or was it pretty smooth?
Nah, it was fine. It was good.
I guess I might, and tell me if I'm way off here, but I guess maybe the laid back nature of this, the fact that it's not like you're a band getting ready for a competition or something, maybe there's plenty of instruction about tuning, but maybe as far as playing, you can kind of err on the side of let's just play and have a good time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we did some tuning, and as the week went on, when we did play together as a group, it started to sound better and better, but it wasn't like an urgent thing. It was lots of jamming, lots of relaxation, as opposed to uptight tuning attitudes. No, none of that. It's it's like Jimmy Buffett style tuning.
Jimmy Buffett tuning, gotcha.
Yeah.
What a great way to reference. Okay, gotcha. That makes a lot of sense right away.
We're going to get amazingly rich and or in tune, but we're going to do it relaxed. It's like Willie Nelson style. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. If I'm remembering right, you and Jack, or maybe it was mostly Jack, you and Jack worked together to put together kind of a packet of materials, tunes to learn, things like that. And did they receive those when they arrived on ship, like a little packet, welcome, here's all the things you'll need? Or was it like, don't forget to print that off or bring a tablet or something like that?
Yeah, that's right. So we released it ahead of time so people could look at all the tunes ahead of time. And people would have the option to print it off for themselves or to just bring a tablet or whatever. And different people, of course, exercised different options. But yeah, that's the Jack Lee special service that you're going to get at a Jack Lee event. You're going to get that music packet, and it was cool. Jack and I wrote a tune for the cruise, and I think it's not confirmed yet, but for the next cruise that we're doing in 2025, Rad Matheson is going to write the tune.
Fun. So then I'm just imagining if I'm going on one of these cruises, I've got my, my normal luggage, my changes of clothes, etc. I've got my packet of music in one form or another.
Yeah, you do.
I've got my practice chanter, obviously.
Yep. It sounds like you're planning. It sounds like you're creating your packing list, because it sounds like you're coming on the next one.
I'm packing. I'm preparing myself to fantasize. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
But I'm just wondering too, like, what if I were a piper who's not yet on pipes? Do I pack my Highland pipes and bring them too? Because if I don't, I'm going to have nothing to do. Or could I learn a lot with a practice chanter in hand if I came
You're
on one of
bringing
these
them.
events?
You're bringing the pipes, buddy. You're bringing them. You're doing it.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically, definitely, we would want people to bring their practice chanter and their pipes.
Mm-hmm.
You got this, Jim. I believe in you. What
Yeah.
was the specific question? If you're not on the pipes yet,
Yeah, if I'm a dojo member, but pretty early in my dojo journey.
Yeah, if you're a beginner, we would just want to chat and see, because we might have a couple of other beginners and we could put together a little beginner group.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's usually, if you're an absolute beginner, I'm not sure if the classes would be a great fit, because usually we're kind of in there getting our hands dirty and trying to learn a couple tunes. And so if if you've barely done the scale yet, it might be a little premature, but you never know. Maybe we have 3 or 4 people that are all at that stage and could make a nice little sort of beginner group. And so it could be workable. So for that kind of thing, yeah, you would just want to probably reach out. And people tend to do that, right? Hey, I feel like I'm a real beginner here. Am I going to fit in? But I think you are. As long as you can play a couple of tunes and you have your pipes, you could be a pretty beginner and still get a ton out of the class.
I'd imagine even if some of the stuff going on is a bit beyond one could still be soaking in a lot of good stuff. I'm just imagining, like, I wonder if there's some unnecessary self-filtering that might happen with these events, where a lot of dojo membership might think, well, that's for the advanced,
exactly,
been here for years kind of group. Not me. I just started.
Yeah. Well, and then most of the time people are off on that. Most of the time people are, like you're saying, they're overestimating or they're underestimating their ability to fit in with a group, and they'll do just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times you have advanced players who really just have advanced egos and they're intermediates just like the rest of us, which, by the way, no judgment there. I probably have over advanced ego as well.
Ego.
Yeah, exactly. So no judgment there, but that also sometimes tends to happen, is like, oh, I want to do all the advanced stuff. And it's like, hey, well, you'll actually get a lot out of doing this, some of this maintenance stuff or some of the steady blowing stuff. And sure enough, they do. So I think it goes both ways. We can overestimate or underestimate where we are. And generally speaking, at the end of the day, we can all get together and learn a ton of stuff and have a ton of fun, even though our exact levels are somewhat disparate. And there's different styles of events where that might not be true. I remember some of the piping schools I went to over the years, like the Invermark schools, they were really focused on creating small classes that were properly divided by your level, so that you could be focused on level specific piping activities. So that's just a different style. This is more like a, Italian style, family style.
I got you.
Piping school, family style piping school. We're going to learn a ton. Yeah, we're going to learn a ton. We're going to have a ton of fun. There's a lot of choose your own adventure in there. But yeah, that tends to be the crew style, because, we don't have 18 different classrooms to divide everybody up into perfect little groups and study the intricacies of your level's specific needs. And it's a little bit different than that. It's a little bit different, but still pretty awesome, I'm thinking.
Though, to that point, when there was a class scheduled, was it usually that was the option and everybody was together, or did you usually have 2-ish options?
We had 2 things. We had 2 main plays that we ran. We had the nickel and we had the I formation. And that was just that was football, Jim. Football. Yeah. American football. Yeah. Salt Lake City doesn't have an NFL team yet. I don't think so.
Not yet. Just acquired a hockey team. NFL might be next.
Yeah. Nice. I feel like your city has to be big to get the NFL team, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
what do you mean? Salt Lake City is big.
It's big, but it's more, I picture Salt Lake City as, having never been there, of course, and having no idea what I'm talking about. I'm picturing it as like sort of like a boutique major city.
Yeah, with a Wild West theme. That's probably about right.
Yeah. I like it, but you've got like mountains and stuff there, right? And a lake that's salty.
Believe it or not, it's very salty.
No kidding. Syracuse, where I grew up, was known as the Salt City.
Oh, look at that. There's the connection.
It had huge salt stores. And so that was one of its major exports. Being on the Erie Canal, it was kind of like a big deal. But I digress. But anyway, we're salty podcast host brothers.
Salty varmints. Yeah, that's us.
What were we even talking about, Jim?
Having more than one option with the courses.
Yes, and we ran the I formation. Yeah, we ran the I formation and the nickel or something. And then, by the way, that's not even right because I think isn't nickel a defensive scheme? And
I'm not the guy. Yeah, I wouldn't know.
But I digress. So there were two things. We did like the big group jamboree style sessions. And then the other thing we did is we broke the group into 3 sections and we had smaller groups working with one instructor at a time. And then the instructors would kind of rotate between the groups. And those were the 2 main things that we did. And when you're working with the group, you're just kind of working on some tunes, and we did sort of split them up by level. So the advanced players could talk about embellishment, compression, and decompression with Robert Matheson. And then meanwhile, the beginner group, it's like, we're just getting excited. We're learning some new tunes out of the book and having a good time.
Now the nature stuff, the nature that's so neat there in Alaska surely played into sort of like what the draw was. I'm seeing some photos of waterfalls, the northern lights, tidal pools.
One of my memories is on the cruise back, the final day was like all cruising. We were going back from somewhere to somewhere. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I saw the Space Needle. Did you land back in Seattle?
Yeah, we were headed back to Seattle. But anyway, at some point, you could see probably hundreds of whales out of the ship. And then whales spend most of their time under the water. So if you could see 100 at any given moment, there must have been hundreds more under there.
Wowzer.
So many whales. And I think what was going on, it was sort of like a ship corridor we were on. So there were lots of ships kind of using that. So I think there was just so much churn from the ships that the whales were just feasting. But it was so cool. I've obviously never seen that many whales. And then we saw quite a few. I think people saw, what are they called? Gray whales or something like that. People were seeing a lot of them while we were there. But how much time did we spend off the ship? Well, there were 3 or 4 ports of call. I can't exactly remember. But you would sometimes sort of wake up in the morning and it's like, hey, we're in Ketchikan here today and got to be back on the boat by whatever time. And then people would get off and just explore Ketchikan, or you could book excursions. Stephanie, my wife, and I, we kind of usually feel like the excursions are pretty expensive. So we don't usually do a whole bunch. You know what Stephanie and I did? We saw someone on YouTube who had done it. We did that Truro car rental thing. It's basically like Airbnb for cars. But we rented a car from this guy who apparently does it all the time. The cruise ships come in and you kind of go on your little car Airbnb app. He dropped the car off at the parking lot next to the ship.
Hey,
we got off the ship at 6:30 in the morning, and then you just kind of get it. We just got into this car, and then we were the first people to the glacier. So we had the whole, whatchamacallit glacier. I don't remember the exact name of it.
It starts with an M.
I'm a man. Yeah.
Is that the name of it? I'm a man glacier.
No, that's not the name of it. That's why I can't remember the name of it.
I saw a photo of the sign. I'll keep looking while you tell me about it.
But it's not that important other than to say, because we rented the car, we got there before any of the tourists got there. And we had this incredible experience. And then we also had the car, so we kind of just explored. Oh, goodness. What was it? Ketchikan or Juneau? Or was it? It was not Sitka. I definitely remember that.
Mendenhall Glacier.
Mendenhall. It actually, man is kind of in there.
Yeah, it's actually pretty close.
So we did that. That was really great. And so there you go. It was pretty awesome.
I'm probably playing in my imagination too much with this, but it's probably because I like the idea of how human communities sort of so naturally seem to form, And sometimes travel groups, they can be an interesting laboratory it's like a microcosm of the formation of a tribe, which you can imagine eventually be like, what if this ship got wrecked on an island where you could survive and this becomes like a new nation state thousands of years from now? And what things on this ship would be informing that culture thousands of years from now, that kind of thing,
Jim, that is wacky. You need a break. You get
But I am
You and I, we need a break.
I am curious if anything stands out to you with after any trip like this, generically, that generally happens, or this one specifically. I'm imagining things as much as petty or simple or silly as like practice chanter envy. Did a whole bunch of people leave this ship to go buy themselves a Maverick practice chanter because they saw one in person? We're like, that is so cool. And when you're in that environment where it's all piping all the time, it's like, of course I'm going to spend money on more piping stuff, you know? Or like really close friendships that develop, or people that later become business partners, you know?
Yeah.
Any stuff like that?
I mean, these things do tend to happen. I remember one early cruise.
Mm.
I won't name the names, but 3 women ended up, in order to maybe to be able to afford it or to justify the expense, they ended up putting all 3 of them in one room on the
Oh,
cruise ship.
how many people usually take a room?
Well, usually 2, but sometimes there's like a couch. So
Yeah.
one of them had the couch, or maybe they
Maybe they were
rotated or
rotating,
something.
yeah.
But one of these early cruises we did. But anyway, they became like lifelong, besties.
That had to go one way
just,
or the other, right? They were either
yeah,
gonna become very best friends or bitterest enemies.
yeah, exactly. One of the people was sort of like, nah, I don't know, quiet maybe, not
Mm.
super outgoing. But by the end of the cruise, well, apparently once you live with this person for a week, you realize they're quite rowdy.
Hmm.
So yeah, we had that. So yeah, we really have made a lot of good friends, and the dojo is this online community. So every year, the biggest feedback is just like, we want opportunities to actually get together and to hang
Mm.
out. And so, the cruise is a big part of that,
Yeah, that makes
which has been
sense.
pretty fun.
I
As
wonder
for
how many of these
bagpipe
people.
stuff, like, have any bagpipe trends started at these events? I don't know.
Mm.
Probably.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you yourself having done a few of these, do you have pro tips for people taking their pipes on cruises? Or is it pretty simple so that you don't need
It's
pro
so
tips?
easy.
Yeah.
No need for pro tips. I mean, I don't think you want your giant reticulating 9-inch blade. You're going to want to leave
Ye
that at home
Right,
and
yeah.
just, but what's funny is on a cruise ship, if as long as your razor blade is small, you could actually still have it allowed on or something. Maybe, I don't know, double check that. But yeah, you just put your pipes on and they put it through the X-ray machine, but then it's easy. Yeah. It's just easy.
I
No problem at
almost
all.
I was about to say that I didn't see any kilts in any of these photos, but then I saw one.
Yeah.
Is that Rab wearing a kilt? It
I
might have
don't
been Rab
know I
Matheson. I'm
don't
trying
think
to
it
scroll back to
is.
it again now. But do people usually bring kilts on these, or is that just more
Sometimes, but
luggage?
not always.
Mm.
Yeah. It's just more luggage. So when you're on a cruise, there's like a lot of stuff that you need. Like you need your bathing suit, and you might need nice clothes for dinner, and you might need hot weather clothes. And Alaska, you're dressing for a variety of seasons as
Mm.
well. So we made the decision to not ask people to bring their kilts. So it was totally optional. So some people
Mm.
still did,
Mhm.
because it's fun to go out and party on the cruise ship with your kilt. I
Mm.
think a lot of people are into
Conversation
that.
piece. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, indeed, Jim. Hey, Jim, guess what? We're doing another one. We're doing another cruise. Did you know this?
Hey, tell me about this. Because it sounds so fun. It's like, whoa, is this ever happening again? Or has the
It is.
opportunity passed?
It's happening April 6th through 12th, 2025. And you can double check that I have the dates correct by going to pipersdojo.com/cruise. But
Doing
we're
it right
actually
now.
doing this one. Oh, Jim's going there now. Nice. We are actually doing this one in a kind of partnership with the Dunedin Highland Games in Florida.
Oh, that's cool. That's
So
unique.
our cruise leaves and returns to from Tampa, Florida, and it's leaving the day after the Dunedin Highland Games, which is an incredible, really lovely Highland Games in Florida. And we were kind of thinking our constituents might want to go to the games the day before,
What a
maybe
cool idea.
compete. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe compete, or maybe talk your band into going, or maybe just enjoy the event and just see the sights, enjoy. I think it's got to be one of the best overall Highland Games that we have in the East Coast of the US. And Rab and Jack, I think, are going to be judging at the games, as they might often do as well, and stuff like that. But yeah, so the Dunedin Highland Games is the Saturday, and then we are leaving the Sunday from Tampa, which is not, I don't think you can walk there, but it's in the same general area as the
Mm.
Dunedin Games. So get a hotel room the Saturday night and then hop on the cruise ship on the Sunday. And we kind of feel like that's going to be pretty awesome.
Looks like
And anyway,
you're
it's a Caribbean cruise. Yeah.
yeah, Caribbean. Should we figure that out too? Let's figure out which one it is, right?
Caribbean.
Tampa, Mexico,
Royal Caribbean. Caribbean?
Mexico and Belize too.
Yeah, we're going to Mexico and Belize. And for people who haven't seen like the Tulum pyramids and stuff, you'd have the chance to do that. I've never been to Belize. I have no idea what's there. I'm kind of looking forward to hitting a new port. And I feel like maybe we're also doing Cozumel.
Mm.
But yeah, this is a warm weather cruise. This is pina coladas, mudslides. Even though I had many on the Alaska cruise, they are more
Many
appropriate
mudslides
in the Caribbean setting.
Now you're thinking about it, huh? I mean, I have no opinion either
I'm
way.
stuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jack, Rab, Matheson, and myself are going to be instructing on the cruise again. It's going to be pretty awesome. We're on a celebrity ship, and I've heard celebrity ships are awesome. We've never been on one before, but
I don't even know.
things are...
Does that mean that the ship itself is a celebrity, or that there are constantly celebrities on board?
I think it makes you feel like a celebrity when you're
is
on.
that what it is? Okay.
Maybe. Not sure. I've never been on one.
All of the above.
Yeah. I'm excited that my status on Royal Caribbean transfers over to celebrity. Like I'm at bathrobe status. When I go on Royal Caribbean, we get bathrobes now. It's so exciting.
Oh, very nice. Now, we talked a little bit before about that it's okay for beginners to go on these cruises. It's maybe worth mentioning too, George here kind of left his comments about a cruise that he went on. George was from Florida, by the way, so I wonder if you'll see him again. But he mentioned something that I think might be interesting to a lot of us too. He says, I had grown stale in my piping over the years of staying in the same bands with the same people. I'd quit competing. I was just playing. The piping cruise gave my piping new life and ambition. So that's another angle, maybe it's not just, hey, it's okay for beginners. It's okay for, if I may say so, George, if I may say it, counting myself as one, old dogs, folks who have maybe been around for a while. It can be a good little jolt to the old enthusiasm.
For sure. For sure. I feel like the cruise is especially conducive.
Okay, conductive makes sense. Conducive. I think that's probably the word you're looking for.
Cruise is especially conducive for the kind of like restart vibe. You really do. It's a small group and you really do. We all get to hang out together, and I couldn't think of anything more exciting than hanging out with Rab Matheson that, to just kind of get you fired up. Okay. Yeah. Piping is awesome. I forgot how cool it could be. Cause it can be easy to get stale, for things to get stale. Yeah. And it's good to have that sort of, by the way, I'm still stuck on before. Hey, thanks for spending bajillions of dollars on Royal Caribbean and being such a loyal customer over the years. Here's a bathrobe you can wear. Really? Really? Just a bathrobe? Come on. I should have had bathrobe status after like the, second cruise or something. I mean, jeez Louise.
Just feel very justified when you steal your bathrobe on this next one. Put that in the suitcase.
Oh, I'm going to steal it? No, I'm not going to steal it, Jim. Or maybe that's what you're supposed to do. Maybe
I wonder if you're supposed to. Maybe
they give it to you? Oh, this changes everything.
Does that change everything?
Yeah. Oh, I get to keep it? I'm not thinking I get to keep it, but I digress.
Yeah. They throw those overboard actually afterward. So
yeah, exactly. So there you go. That's our upcoming cruise, Jim. It's gonna be really good. I think Jack and I had a great time kind of putting our heads together and working on the cruise. My wife, Stephanie, who's kind of like event organizer extraordinaire, is still behind this. She's the wizard, behind the scenes.
I don't want to throw off branding or anything, but Cruise Journey North, that was fun. This one right now is just called Bagpipe Getaway Caribbean. Have you thought about Pipers of the Caribbean? Go with kind of a Jack Sparrow.
Pipers of the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And you could show up wearing
that's a really good idea.
You could have some eyeliner and stuff. You could be the Jack Sparrow of the event. And
oh, no. Okay, I'm texting.
I don't mean to throw off your whole thing or anything like that. The URL could probably still stay the same. So we could still say anybody interested, pipersdojo.com/cruise, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So the bottom line is Bagpipe Getaway, cruise. That's if we're going to continue to do these, I feel like we need names that are either incredible or they have to have continuity. But The cool thing about the Piper's Getaway is maybe next time, and by the way, this is just all, nobody should read too much into this, but maybe next time we're not cruising and we're going to a resort or something instead.
Yes,
or you know what I mean? So, so like to not be locked into a boat, we thought was kind of good. And also we wanted the name to represent what it is. Like Cruise Journey North is very clever, but the title of it doesn't really tell you what it is. But a Bagpiper's Getaway, that's sort of telling you what it is.
It's right there on the
label. So maybe it's not as exciting, but I think it's descriptive.
Oh, that makes sense. That does make sense.
Pipers of the Caribbean. Jim.
I mean,
next time I do
what I can.
Wow. Amazing. Pipers of the Caribbean.
Yeah. I'm rolling in the head all day. All right, cool, man. Well,
there it is.
Yeah. If that didn't motivate all of us to sign up for the next one, I don't know what will.
It's just a cool thing. It's obviously a little bit, but surprisingly not as bad as you think, of a financial investment, so it's not maybe for everybody, but if you are the type of person that wants to mix vacation and piping school together in a big, awesome mixed Caribbean mixed drink with a little umbrella on top, the cruise is awesome.
No one else is doing that like the Piper's Dojo.
Well, yeah.
It's like the option.
Yeah. Well, and then that's sort of the thing. And by the way, I think the most appealing thing about the cruise is that it includes the spouse and or the entire family. A couple people on the cruise brought their entire families and had a great time, I think. And so, dad can do some piping classes and the rest of the family can, go to the splash pad, especially in the Caribbean. In Alaska, you couldn't really do the pools.
Yeah, it's like the rest of the family can look out the windows.
And then a lot of people brought their spouses, and the spouses took advantage of those spa packages, let me tell you.
And a little break from their bagpiping partners.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I mean, you're joking, but also it's the truth, and it can be cool.
Yeah.
And so,
go do your bagpiping stuff over there with your bagpipey friends.
Yes. And so that, that's the big idea, and it's super fun. And it was awesome to work with Jack. Jack and I would say we're old friends. Jack was a mentor to me for many years when I was living in British Columbia. And so it's cool to kind of like circle back a little later in my career and do this event with Jack. It's been pretty fun. Well, and Rab too. I mean, Rab did a couple things for the dojo, but then the first cruise we did, he jumped right on it. He's like, I'm in, let's do this. And my wife and I have become great friends with them, and it's been cool. That's the big idea, right?
That is the big idea.
To have fun with this kind of thing and make it cool and memorable. And I don't know. I'm pretty stoked. I can sense when you're ready to end the show. There it is.
It felt like a good ending. That felt like the perfect time.
Yeah, it was great.
Hey everybody, Andrew Douglas here from the Piper's Dojo, and I just want to say thanks so much for listening to today's iteration of the podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard here today, it would be super helpful to us and to a lot of bagpipers out there trying to find us. If you could give us a top-notch review on whatever platform you're using to listen to this podcast, particularly Apple, iTunes, and Spotify and things like that, your review would be really, really helpful. So if you have a moment today, definitely go over there and help us out. Other than that, until we meet again on the podcast or somewhere else, thanks again for listening.